Welcome to H2K Infosys. H2K Infosys is a e-verify business based in Atlanta, Georgia, United States. We provide 100% job-oriented, instructor-led, face-to-face, true live online software training programs. It also includes access to cloud test lab with software tools. We provide live project for you to work on. We also provide assistance with mock interviews, resume preparation and review, and job placement assistance. H2K Infosys is trusted by so many students across the world. H2K Infosys provides world-class services in IT training with real-time project work for corporates and individuals, special IT training for MS students in the United States, software design, development, QA manual and automation, performance testing and maintenance, IT staff augmentation, job placement assistance, and tech support.
By using box2 dot depth equal to 100. Now I have changed the box2 depth value as 100. Let us go and print box1 object depth value plus box1 dot depth. See, I made the changes by using box2 object reference, and I am trying to print the value of box1 dot depth. You can see that the value of depth got changed. How it got changed? Because both the object references are now pointing to the same memory location in the JVM. So whenever you want to copy the object references, it won't copy the actual data. It will just change the memory reference in the JVM level. There's a difference between normal primitive data types and object references. So when you want to make changes with respect to one object, when you are making changes with respect to one object, it will be going to affect the other box reference as well, because ultimately both are pointing to same memory location. See, if you make the box1 reference as null, box1 reference as null, one second, Gaurang. If you make the box1 reference as null, see why I am putting it as a null? The default value for an object is null. That's why I'm putting it as null. So when you make the object reference as null, so this one I'm just making it as reference null. That means this box reference, it won't point to any memory location now. But this box1 object has already a reference with respect to box2. So you can see that still, this is my mistake, this is box2. When you make any changes with respect to the new object, see currently the box2 is pointing to box1 object reference. Even though if you made it as a reference, if you make the reference value as null, there is another reference available for the memory location. So this object won't be destroyed now. This object, this box1 object, there are still some references available, and this object won't be eligible for destruction. We'll see how to do the destruction or deallocation kind of stuff later. Can classes have return types? Yeah, we'll discuss about that later, Adil. Class itself is a data type. Box2 memory allocation will be released from JVM in this case. Yeah, that also we'll discuss Gaurang later. No. Let us say we have seen about object references. Let us say the client is interested to know the volume of the box. See, currently we are not sending any information to the client. The client has asked to calculate the volume. We are just calculating the volume and we are printing only at our level. We are not going to return any kind of information to the client. Let us say the client is interested to know the volume of the box. Based on the result, you just want to decide whether it is a big box or a small box or a medium box. I'm sorry. By using methods, you have the option of returning data. See, normally what is the flow of control for this case? When JVM is executing, it will start with main method. It sees that you are going to create an object and you have allocated some instance variables, and after that you are calling a calculate volume method. So when you are calling the calculate volume method, the transfer of control or the flow will transfer to the definition of calculate volume method. So here the calculate volume method you have declared within your box class. When it has encountered the method call, so this is called a method call and this is called method definition. When it has encountered any method call, it will transfer the control to that particular method and the flow of control starts from this level now. And it will be going to execute these two lines, and then it has encountered the end brace, which means the control will be again transferred back to the same caller. So now the flow of control starts at this level. This is how normally the method of execution will be going to happen between the method calls. When the method has completed execution, it has the capability of sending some information back to the client. So let us say you are going to ask the method to perform some operation. So that means you would be interested to know what is the result of that operation. So that will be performed by using a statement called return. Normally return statement will use inside our method, and there are two usages for our return statement. The first one is to return control back to the caller. So that means you can return the control at any place. Let us say if volume equal to 0, I don't want to print, I just want to return the control back to the caller. So this is how you'll be going to return the control back to the caller. So whenever you have specified a return statement, that means you are telling to the JVM, I don't want to go ahead further, I don't want to execute the statements further, and I just want to transfer the control back to the caller. So this is the first usage. And the second thing is, while returning the control, you can send the method result. So let us say this is our first case. If at all if the volume is equal to 0, I will return it normally and I don't want to return any kind of information. Let us say the volume is not 0 and I want to return the calculated volume to the user. So to send the data back to the caller, you need to use return variable. Just like how you are using to declare a parameters or any kind of stuff, you just need to specify what is the data or what kind of data that you want to return. So currently we want to return the volume which got calculated. But when you are returning the volume, that is fine. But how the control or how the client knows what kind of data that will be returned by this caller or this calling method. So this is a calling method. This will be going to return a volume now. So what is the data type for volume? Long. But the client has to know what kind of data that he'll be going to get. Then only he can take the data and store it in some variable. If at all, if you didn't specify to the client, he can't understand in which variable he was supposed to store the data. So that's the reason we need to use one more type of method. So the second, previously we have used one type. The first one is void with a method name. The second thing is data type. So here data type signifies what kind of data that this method will be going to return. And in the other way, the same data type can be used for the caller method. So currently I want to return volume. What is the data type for volume? The data type for volume is long. So that means the data type that needs to be specified with respect to your method signature should be long only, because whatever the data that you are sending and the data type, it should match. So currently you are sending the long data. So you can see that I'm able to take the data in terms of long representation. Yeah, we can have, but there should be a conditional statement inside your method. You shouldn't have two methods in a straight away inside your method. Either you can have a if else condition. See, you shouldn't have like return some other data. You shouldn't have like this. If at all, if you are having some kind of conditions, then you can have multiple return statements inside your method. We'll see that case also later. Now, I'm just commenting this particular code. Now you can see that I'm able to return the data from the client, from the box class, and I'm able to print the volume value as well. Let us say if the volume value is greater than 50, then we can say this is large cube. Save the file and go and execute it now. You can see that the volume of the box calculated. There also we are printing. And once after that, we are able to return the data. And the next thing is, see here, with respect to box class, or come back to box client. With respect to box client, when we are trying to access the depth, height, and width variables, we are specifying the box1 object. But when we are accessing with respect to the calculate volume method, we are not at all specifying what kind of object that we want to refer, and we are directly accessing these three variables, width, depth, and height. Why we need the box1 reference at this level? Why don't we need at calculate volume method? When we are trying to access the box object outside the class scope, so here outside the class scope, nothing but we are trying to access from box client. So at this point of time, you should specify accessing the instance variables or methods by using object reference only. But when we are accessing within the class, so within the class in the sense, within the box class, here you are accessing width, depth, and height within your calculate volume method. The calculate volume method is also part of box class only. So whenever you are accessing the instance variables or methods within the class, it's not required for you to specify any kind of object. Only when we are trying to access outside the class, then only you should specify the object reference on which you are trying to access those members. See, the reason for that is, anyway, you are going to call the calculate volume method also on a object reference only. So that means you are calling the calculate volume method. Let us represent them. See, height, width, depth. These three are the instance variables for that. And we have the instance method, which is calculate volume. See, in the same way, we'll be going to contain the same details for our box2 object as well. Consider our previous scenario. So that means the calculate volume method is different from box1 object to box2 object. In the same way, the instance variables as well. This is true because we can have many number of cubes and we can have different number of objects with the different dimensions. So whenever you change some data related to one object, remove this scenario. We are just talking about the basic one. Whenever you made changes to one of the objects or one of the box1 object, it won't affect other box objects, just like real world scenarios, normal entity scenarios. When you are trying to access the calculate volume method on a box1 object, so that means you are calling the calculate volume method. That is, say you are calling on box1 object. When you are trying to access the instance variables, JVM knows that you already got one object, which is box1. And when you are referring width, depth, and height variables, you are referring on the same object on which calculate volume method was called. That's the reason it's not required for you to specify any kind of object references inside your class. And one more thing is, whenever you are declaring a class and whenever we are writing certain methods, those are just like generic ones. They are not at all related to any kind of specific objects. That's one other reason why we have specified any kind of object. Now we have seen how to return the value. And the next thing is, let us write one more class. I don't want to combine at the same level. Box client 2 or else box demo. I'll just copy the existing code. See, there is one another problem with respect to the variable assignment as well. The problem with this approach is we are providing access to the client to set the data. Let us say the client is sending some information like -1. Is it possible for us to create any cube with a dimension -1? No, it's not at all a valid one. So we should restrict the user to not to send the values less than 0. So if we are directly providing the access to the user, that means he has the access of setting the variables directly. We are not supposed to provide such type of access to the user anytime. We should protect our data. Now the next scenario is method with parameters. See, we have seen how to write methods in two different ways. The first one is with no return type as void, and the second thing is with return type. Now we are seeing the third type where we can write some method with parameters. Let us go and write a method called void set dimensions. Our set dimensions method accepts three variables: long depth, long height, long width. And here we will set we'll be going to set the details of dimensions, whatever that are passed with respect to the method call. This dot I'm sorry, forget about that one. Depth equal to D, height equal to H. So currently I have set these three variables by using the parameters or arguments, whatever that are passed by our client. We just need to imagine like that. The client will be going to send these three parameters. And once after that, we already know how to access the instance variables. So I can access the name of the variable directly, and I can set the data. Passing a parameter, we have already seen the syntax as well. It should contain data type and then variable name. This is like a local variable. We'll discuss the differences between instance variable and local variable again. So now, from the demo, we are not supposed to send the data like this. We just need to call the method box1 dot set dimensions. What are the dimensions? 10, 15, 20. See here, if you want, you can write some kind of code like if W value is less than 0, you don't want to process and you just want to return the data directly. We didn't learn exception handling kind of stuff, or else we could have thrown some exception to the user saying that the width value shouldn't be less than 0. As we didn't complete exception handling, we are not able to show that. Now the client, you can see that we have reduced 3 more statements from the client level, and we are just asking, or we are passing the data to the client. The client will be going to, from the client will be going to send these 3 variables, and our box class will be going to set these 3 variables, and then client will be again going to call the calculate volume method. So the data 10, 15, 20 you have already set with respect to set dimensions method. See, ultimately the set dimensions method or calculate volume method, you are going to call on the same object, the box1 object. So if at all, if you have set the data by using box1 object with the depth and height, those are instance variables and are available with respect to the box1 object. So those data are available between the method calls on the same object. So the box1 object, you are first calling set dimensions and you are setting some information. That means you are storing the data in terms of instance variables. And after that, you are asking the same box object to calculate the volume. When you say calculate volume, it will be going to read the width, the depth and height variables which we have already set by using set dimensions method. 1 second please. Now let us go and execute the program. Or else let me write some sysout statements. Set dimensions completed. You can see that during the flow of control, it will create an object first, then it will call a method set dimensions. With the depth and height, it will be going to allocate. So that means it has assigned the data to these 3 variables and make it available for box1 object. When it has completed the execution, it will transfer the flow of control back to the caller. So now the control was here. Then it will start executing this line, which is box1.calculate volume. It will reach here, the calculate volume method. It will work on the same box1 object which has already the data available. It will perform the operation, print the statement. It will be going to return the volume back to the caller. So now the volume was available here. It will print the data. It will check whether the volume was greater than 50 or not. Finally, it will be going to print as large cube. Did anyone raise hand? Any questions? Okay. Void doesn't return anything. Yeah, void means the method won't return anything. Yeah, correct, Jitin. See, their return statement indicates that, yeah, return means the purpose of return statement is not to return any kind of data. You are just informing to the JVM to transfer the control back to the caller. If the method is returning void means we are not expecting anything on the caller side. Okay. Method with parameters. So we have completed this one as well. Now, let us take the next case. What is the next one? Scope. Just let me complete this one, then you'll take 5 minutes break. The next one is local variable versus instance variable. See, in last class we have discussed, probably might not be last class, instance variables, they are related to objects, whereas local variables, they are related to a method level. We have seen one more variable, which is block variables, related to a particular block. Just now only we have seen how to use instance variables between method calls. Currently you can see that you are using the instance variables with depth and height with set dimensions method call and then calculate volume method call. So that means these three variables are available with respect to your box1 object as instance variables. Instance, they are associated to one particular representation, one particular object. So how many number of methods you can make use of? There won't be any issue because you are referring to the same object. See, if you are creating a one more object, previously we have seen how to create a box2 object. Even if you create box2 object, it will also work in the same way. But the instance variables related to box2, they are different from the instance variables of box1. But with respect to local variable, currently you can see that I'm using one local variable, which is volume. The volume variable is local to my method. That means the scope of the the scope of the volume variable is within the method only. You can't access this variable outside the calculate volume method. You can't access the volume method like this. It will say that it couldn't find the volume variable inside this particular method or as instance variable. So local variables will get destroyed immediately once after the method call has completed. This volume variable has destroyed whenever it is returning the value back to the caller. But the instance variables, the width, the depth, and height, these three are related to box. As long as the box object is available in the memory, the variable will be the variables, the instance variables won't be destroyed. And in last class, we have mentioned that instance variables, they'll get default values. But local variables, they won't get default values. And we have mentioned that it's our responsibility to initialize a default.
So many of our students have given testimonials on how our training programs are. You will find them on kudzu.com and on our website H2KInfosys.com. On our website H2KInfosys.com, you will also find more detailed information on who we are, the courses that we offer, what each course covers. Also, if you're interested in a demo program, please register on our homepage on the left-hand side. Just give us more information about yourself and we will send you a link for a demo class. The demo class is absolutely free. Experience our commitment by just attending an orientation workshop at no cost. Our team of faculty and advisors are here to guide you with the right information. If you still have more questions, please feel free to call us. Call us at 770-777-1269. This is a United States number. If you're calling from the UK, call us at 020-337-17615. You can also email us at training@h2kinfosys.com or h2kinfosys@gmail.com. Thank you for watching our videos. We wish you a great career in information technology.